Everyone, my name is Gyanendra Kumar and I am biology educator in India. In this video, we are going to discuss about skeletal muscle. In skeletal muscle also, we will particularly focus on cellular structure of the skeletal muscle. So guys, we all know well the skeletal muscles are most abundant muscle of our body. Yeah, they are most abundant kind of muscle of our body. Either it is skeletal muscle or smooth muscle or cardiac muscle, they are mesodermal origin. So our skeletal muscle is also mesodermal origin, and the skeletal muscle, they are attached by bones, right? Bones are forming our skeletal system. So as they are attached by bone, that's why we are calling it skeletal muscle, right? And they attached by bone with a tissue. This tissue is called tendon. So one very important information in the perspective of NEET exam, that tendon is a connective tissue which attaching the skeletal muscle with bone. Now when scientists studied further, they find it that inside the skeletal muscle many muscle cells are arranged parallelly. This line directly from I taken from NCERT book. Yes, so the muscle cells are arranged here parallelly. Many muscle cells are arranged parallelly, right? Example of skeletal muscle cell: biceps, triceps. Like you see, take one skeletal muscle cell, make a transverse section and study it further. We find it that this skeletal muscle is covered by one connective tissue layer, and this connective tissue, skeletal muscle was covered by connective tissue layer, and that connective tissue layer was epimysium. Inside the epimysium, we observe that our skeletal muscle was present, and obviously skeletal muscle have many blood vessels which are supplying blood here, and then they have nerves also which control movement here. See, nerves also present which are controlling movement here. When we zoomed it further, we find it that inside this one skeletal muscle many bundles of muscle cells are present, and this individual bundle of muscle cell is called fascicle. Yes, this individual bundle of muscle cell is called fascicle, right? This fascicle is covered by one connective tissue layer, and this connective tissue layer is called perimysium, right? And now this perimysium have many muscle cell, and individual skeletal muscle cell or myofiber is again covered by connective tissue layer, and that connective tissue layer is called endomysium. Yes, so endomysium is covering individual skeletal muscle cell, perimysium is covering fascicle, and epimysium is covering muscles, skeletal muscle, right? When we studied it, when scientists studied it further, they find it that the plasma membrane of the skeletal muscle cell is called sarcolemma. Sarcolemma, yes. And in this individual skeletal muscle cell have cytoplasm also. Obviously, if it is cell, it has cytoplasm, and that cytoplasm is called, sorry, missing one point here. Plasma membrane of the muscle cell is called sarcolemma, and cytoplasm of the muscle cell is called sarcoplasm. Sarcoplasm. Okay. Now, what is shape of the skeletal muscle cell? So you see here, fiber-like shape of the skeletal muscle cell. It's fiber-like. So it's a fiber-shaped, cylindrical shape, and it multinucleated. This is very important point. It's multinucleated. In perspective of NEET exam, it's important. Our skeletal muscle cell is multinucleated. Cardiac and smooth muscle cell are not multinucleated, they are uninucleated. And because they are multinucleated, sometimes we are comparing with syncytium also. What do you mean by syncytium? See, when viruses infect cells of the human body, sometimes they fuses many cells, and that fused many fused cells, they are showing multinucleated appearance. This is not one cell, this is 5 cells which are fused. Now it's showing multinucleated appearance or not? Here also you see it's looking multinucleated. Okay, so obviously it's not any kind of fusion things, it is new, is natural only, but this structure is called syncytium. That's why sometimes we can call it, okay, so this skeletal muscle cell have syncytium like appearance and nucleus present in peripheral wedge. Okay. Now skeletal muscle cell, when further study when we did, we find it that the cytoplasm of skeletal muscle cell is fully packed with fibers, and these fibers are called myofibrils. Mind it, I am calling it myofibril, I am not calling it myofiber. Myofiber in muscle cell. So inside this one muscle cell many fibers are present. See here, these all are fibers, and this individual fiber is called myofibril. Okay. And now this myofibril have unit for contraction, and that unit for contraction in muscle cell is called sarcomere. So what is sarcomere? Sarcomere is unit for contraction in muscle cell. Yes, they are unit for contraction in muscle cell. Now these myofibrils are mainly made up of two protein. One protein is actin, another protein is myosin. In another video we will discuss actin and myosin protein in detail anyway. But basic information is that this actin and myosin protein are contractile protein. Guys, the core function of muscle cell is what? Contraction. Why contraction? What is contraction? Contraction is forceful decrease in size of the cell. Forced decrease in size of cell is contraction, and after decreasing size, when the cell will come back to its real state, that's called relaxation. So contraction, relaxation consistently occurs in all kind of muscle cell. So in skeletal muscle cell also it occurs, and for that these two proteins are very important. One protein is actin, another protein is myosin. Okay. So when these two proteins will contract, muscles, myofibril will contract. When all myofibril will contract, muscle cell will contract. When all muscle cell will contract, muscle will also contract. Okay. Now when we did staining of the myofibril, we find it that staining, see, staining is required. Most of the cells in our body are transparent. Okay, so if you want to study them, you have to stain them, you have to color them, you have to use some dye for them. So we observed that some area of this skeletal muscle cell was darkly stained, we called it dark band. Some area of this skeletal muscle cell was lightly stained, we'll call it light band. So muscle cell, you see, this skeletal muscle cell is showing some is dark and light band, which ultimately making it, you know, some kind strip like appearance or striated appearance. It seems like many of the strips are arranged here. So this strip or striation is characteristic feature of the skeletal muscle cell. The strip and striation is very clear here, and which is only making it light and dark band here. Why light and dark band form, that we will see in another video. So in smooth muscle, this strip kind of appearance is absent. In cardiac muscle, strip is present, but it's not very clear like here. Okay. Another thing is that our skeletal muscle cell is voluntary in nature, means they will control by our will. They will control by our somatic neural system. Okay. Now sarcoplasm of the skeletal muscle cell have myoglobin. This myoglobin store oxygen. They have glycogen also. This glycogen will break and form glucose whenever required, and they have lot of mitochondria also, which produces ATP, which is source of energy for this muscle cell, right? And they have some specialized smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and this specialized smooth endoplasmic reticulum is called sarcoplasmic reticulum. This sarcoplasmic reticulum store calcium ion, and this calcium ion have switch on kind of role in contraction of the muscle cell. Very important role. In other video we will see what is their role. Okay. Now there are some common question about the skeletal muscle cell. Sir, which kind of protein present in the skeletal muscle cell? So in skeletal muscle cell, two contractile protein present, actin and myosin. Other proteins are also present like titin protein dystrophin protein. Fault in this dystrophin protein causes muscular dystrophy. Then tropomyosin, and then troponin. Another very common question: why fatigue occurs in skeletal muscles, not in cardiac and smooth muscle? So guys, it have many reasons. One thing is that skeletal muscle cell have less refractory period. That's why they fatigue fast. Another thing is that during contraction, command from the motor neurons are very important. So that motor neuron give command to this muscle cell by the help of neurotransmitter acetylcholine. So when acetylcholine will decrease, when acetylcholine will deplete, it will decrease. So it's natural, they will unable to give any kind of command. So decrease in acetylcholine is another cause. Next, when glucose depleted, energy source is not there. When lactic acid increase due to anaerobic respiration, that will also decrease contraction and it will cause fatigue. So in this video we discuss cellular structure of skeletal muscle cell, and then we discuss what is arrangement of skeletal muscle, and then we discuss which kind of protein present here. Remaining we will see in next video. Bye.